What's good, YouTube? This is Boxingwave, and we are back, man, into a new year. Happy New Year to all of you guys. Hope everyone is having a great 2024 so far. And, I just wish you guys the best. Thank you for supporting this channel all of these years, man. I really, really appreciate you guys. For all you guys that subscribe, hit the thumbs up, leave comments, even if we don't agree, it's like is a mutual respect. Some of you guys leave some really excellent comments. Yeah, you get some trolls here and there, but some of you leave excellent comments. I mean, some of you guys are knowledgeable enough to have your own channel. And some of you've been here for a long time, so I appreciate the support over the years. Seriously, this was like I started this channel off kind of like just a joke thing. One of my boys, USA MVP, who used to have a YouTube channel, one of my best friends in real life, he's the one that pushed me to do it. And I didn't think I would go this long doing this kind of thing, especially with me. I'm very, very private. And, I never was really comfortable sitting in front of a camera talking. Like, I'm kind of a low key kind of guy for the most part. But you guys you changed me in a lot of ways. I've become so much more involved in so many things around the world and learning about other people from doing this thing on boxing, because I it was forced to learn about other fighters in other countries and how they do things. I never was a channel that strictly just talked about American fighters. And even when I didn't know much about a fighter before, I would study them. I would do my research on these guys, and it made me learn more about different cultures and stuff like that. And I do travel a lot, but it helps to have a boxing channels where you're really directly talking about certain fighters from around the world. So I do appreciate everything that I learned from having this channel. And I definitely appreciate the support you guys have left me over the years. And I'm going to continue to do that in the best of my ability. All right. So before I get down with this list, I normally do a list before the new year, give you guys some dream fights that I want to see in 2024 that are possible. Some of these people that I have on this list, are already they're already scheduled for certain fights, but this is just my list. There are better fights out there and more meaningful fights out there for sure, but these are just a list of mine. But before we start this list, I just wanted to also add for 2024, there's gonna be a lot of things coming for the channel. I have logos created, and I'm waiting to start the merchandise real soon. I do have a couple of shirts, but before I show it to you guys, I want to get all the orders in. I want to get everything situated and stuff like that, like copyright stuff, like all of that stuff. I want to make sure all that is good before I start selling those. And also, I'm going to start the Patreon as well within the next couple of weeks. I'm going to start. I already started making content for the Patreon subscribers only. All right. So when I launch it, I'll let you guys know. And I want some content to already be there for the people that do subscribe to Patreon. All right. Basically on Patreon, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys exclusive stuff, like for the breakdowns, for example. Those breakdowns are going to go there first. I'm going to go back to doing early breakdowns like I used to. Okay. When I used to have a lot more time, and I was younger, I used to have time to do breakdowns the week the fights were announced, and then I would do like week of breakdowns and stuff like that. Being that it's been harder to do it with the time that I have, especially because I do so much film study now. I do breakdowns like the week of the fight, and I've been trying to go back to doing early breakdowns and stuff. So on a Patreon, not only are you going to get the breakdowns earlier on there than YouTube, but you're also going to get film study of when I'm doing film study. I'm going to do it live on Patreon so you guys can see what I'm looking at leading up to a fight. All right. Because I do sit here on my free time just watching fights. So now I can give you an educated breakdown. I'm not going to always get it right. I'm not going to always get the predictions right? But it's cool. It's just more about the love of the sport. Like I spend a lot of time, a lot of my free time just watching boxing. So be on the lookout for that. I'm gonna give you more than that too. You know, I've used to do more videos on content unrelated to boxing as well. So I'm gonna go back to that. So be on the lookout for that. I will let you guys know when I drop that. All right. All right. Let's get down to this list. Again, this list is just a list, please. This is not any kind of like I know some of these fighters are scheduled to take fights, and I know some fights here there are more meaningful fights like championship fights, you know, fights that are better for some of these fighters as far as their career. It's not really about that here. I didn't put it in any particular order. I kind of just thought of names. I went through all of the divisions and thought of different fights that I kind of want to really see in the new year. Now, there are other fights that I want to see these fighters involved in, but I just gave you like the most meaningful fights that I want to see in 2024. All right. And there are no particular, I was just jotting this down in my notes. I actually did this about a week ago while I was doing all the 2023 awards videos that I was doing. So this list here, again, is just more of a list of just fights I want to see, you know, and that's pretty much it. All right. So I'm gonna start out with 2024, and these are all realistic fights. And again, I have to add as well, these fights are with fighters that are in their current division. Now I know some of these fighters are moving up, some might be moving down, some might be moving up, but in their current division, these are matches that are made with other fighters in their current division. Again, some are moving up, but in their current division. Okay. All right. So let's start out with the first one. I wouldn't say the first one is 20 fights here. Jamel Charlo against Tim Tszyu. Okay. I know Tim Tszyu has now picked up one of the titles, and I know Charlo, I think maybe two of the titles he no longer has. All right. Charlo was inactive for like maybe a year and a half. He went up 2 divisions to fight Canelo Alvarez, lost the fight. I don't know what Charlo is going to do. All right. I don't know if he's really going to come back to 154. I don't know if he's going to go to 160. I don't know. But he's still currently a champion at 154. And I know he's had issues outside of the ring. I didn't make any videos. I'm not making any more videos addressing fighters and what they do outside of the ring anymore. It's just too many. You know, I think Tank was the last one for me. Unless it affects an upcoming fight, I will not address them. Okay. Gerald Miller just recently got arrested. I'm not making content on that. I'm not making content on Charlo and his issues outside. I'm just not. I'm done with that. I didn't do it with Bevo. I said I was going to do it with Bevo. I was going to do some research, but I realized I really don't care. You know, I don't. And I don't. It's not that I don't care. It's also that sometimes this information that comes out is not true. And then I have to double back and follow up with what I previously said based on something that wasn't true to begin with. And I don't want to do that anymore. You know, so even if it's bad, I know people wanted you to talk about it. I've never been a gossip channel to begin with. So, you know, something about PEDs and suspensions, something like that, I will address because it affects the fighter's career, like as far as what's going on in the ring. But as far as like domestics, arrests for whatever random reasons, I'm not going to really address them unless they're affecting an actual fight that's scheduled. Okay. But Charlo and Tim Tszyu, I still want to see the fight simply because I think Tim Tszyu is the best guy right now at 154 that's not a champion. And obviously Jamel Charlo is still the champion. You know, he's not undisputed anymore, but he became undisputed and he was able to defend his title. And I want to see that fight, you know. Wait, did he defend the fight? No, he didn't defend the title because he won it. The first fight with Castano was a draw. And then when he won it, he went up. All right, but whatever. I want to see that fight. I still want to see it. It's still a great fight to me. And, you know, hopefully you get it down the line. I like the fact that Tim Tszyu is actually staying active. He fought 3 times this year. He's one of the at least top 10 fighters of the year, you know, if not top 5. All right, but he had a great year. All right. Next fight down the line, Canelo against Benitas. Again, it's just a fight I want to see. I wanted to see it for the last 4 years. I wanted to see it before Canelo became undisputed and had all of those fights at 168. I also wanted to see Benavidez and Plant earlier. I wanted to see Saunders and Callum Smith when they were champions. They all kind of waited for Canelo and to see what Canelo was going to do. And Canelo just went through all of them, and they didn't really fight each other. Obviously, Benavidez and Plant fought later. But Benavidez had a phenomenal year. Canelo's, he's had some shaky fights recently. He lost to Bivol, Triple G, third fight. A lot of people criticize him because of his performance towards the end of the fight and stuff like that. But Canelo's coming off the win against Jamel Charlo, and I still want to see him fight Benavidez. I mean, Canelo is still undisputed, and Benavidez to me is the best. I don't know if they're going to fight next, but I think they will fight eventually. I think the sooner the better for Canelo. All right. The next fight I got on this list is Fury against Usyk. Obviously, this is scheduled for February 17th. But it's still in my top fights for the year. Even though it's scheduled, it didn't happen yet. So I still want to see the fight. I can't wait to see it. I think it settles a lot. I think the best of this generation would make an easier argument if it would be easier to justify who's the best in this generation if these two were to actually fight and we would see a winner out of this. I know Usyk wasn't a career heavyweight, but he has been one of the pound for pound fighters for years now, and Fury has been considered by many to be the best heavyweight. Some people say Anthony Joshua, whatever. But Fury is to win against Usyk and have a win against Deontay Wilder and have a win against Klitschko. It would say a lot for his career. And I think you can make an easy argument that he's the best of this generation. Or the same with Usyk. Now, obviously, Usyk didn't fight Wilder. But he fighting Fury and beating AJ, I would say that Usyk is the best too. All right, so I think that fight would at least give us who's number one. And then number two, we still got to figure that out. All right. But I want to see the fight, and I can't wait to see it. And breakdown for that fight will be on the way. The next fight, I got to go with Estrada and Yoka. Simply because 115 has just been a huge puzzle for me, because you got guys that still haven't fought yet, and they've been around for a long time. And I think Yoka being a title holder and Estrada being a title holder as well. And Estrada, I felt like Estrada has fought everyone but Yoka out of his class. He's fought Quadras, he fought Chocolatito, he fought Sorong Visai, he's fought all of those guys. And Yoka, even though he's a multi-divisional champion and stuff, but at 115, he hasn't fought like one of the top three guys that's been there for some time now. And I kind of just want to see that at this point. So, again, there's so many fights that still can be made around that time, especially because you got the newer guys that's coming up and stuff. But this is just a fight that I want to see, and they need to get this over with at this point, because, again, you got newer guys on the come up, and there's still some scores that haven't been settled yet. So I really want to see this fight. I had to put this one on my list. Another fight that I was actually tweeting about this morning, Zhilei Zhang against Filip Hrgović too. I want to see the rematch simply because it's just one of those fights that was very, very close. And I still think that these two are probably some of the top guys that are not champions, as far as like the fighters that haven't been crowned, like hasn't won the title yet. These might be like two of the best guys, right? And I think the first fight was very close, and a lot of people feel that Zhang won. In fact, I see more people saying that Zhang won the fight than Hrgović won the fight. So being that it was so close, I think I want to see a rematch, and especially because Zhang went on to beat Joe Joyce. And, that win was such a big win. It's just like, bro, let's get this rematch going. They're both mandatories for Usyk's titles. One of his Mando for IBF, which is Hrgović, and Zhang is basically the number one guy with the WBO. So, Why not get a rematch? Obviously they want to fight with Usyk or Fury winner. Of course they want those fights, and even with AJ, of course those fights are realistic fights, and they're really good fights too. But if they can't get those fights, and if they can't secure those fights, why not run it back? Why not? I know Zhang, to a lot of people, feel that he won. And I know Hergovich was coming off a lot, losing his dad and stuff like that. Why not see it again? Especially if they can't get a bigger fight. Why not run it back? All right. This fight here. This next fight here is one of the fights. I mean, if I had to do a top five, if I actually did a list, this would have to be top five. And this is a fight that I've been complaining about for years, because these two are pound for pound fighters, and they fought in the same division their whole career. And these two have been the best since the Kovalev, Adonis Stevenson, Andre Ward era. And that's Beterbiev and Bivol. I mean, I don't know what's going on. I know politics is playing a part. And I know recently Bivol has signed his side of the contract to fighting Beterbiev in Saudi Arabia this year. If Beterbiev is to get through Callum Smith. But this is one of the best fights that could be made in all of boxing. I mean, I have to hype it up more than some of these other fights, because I need to see it this year. Beterbiev, the thing is, I feel like with Beterbiev, his time is running out. And I know he's been so dominant as an older fighter. I know he's still been dominant, being Marcus Brown recently, destroying Joe Smith, destroying Anthony Yard. With all that being said, how long is he going to keep going like this, And I'm expecting him to be Callum Smith, but I feel like every fight for him is dangerous. And even though he's been destroying everyone, I'm still a little concerned about his age and his health, because he's always injured before a fight. In between fights, there's some kind of injury there. He's very injury prone. And I hope this fight happens while he's in good health. I don't want to see a dramatic decline before this fight happens. We may see it in the next week or so. I think a couple weeks they're gonna fight. He's gonna fight Callum Smith, but Bivol didn't fight most of the year. He just fought a couple weeks ago on the big card in Saudi Arabia. But it was a stay busy fight, Lyndon Arthur is a good fighter, but it's for Bivol, he's a journeyman for Bivol. Bivol's that good. So I would love to see this fight this year, and I hope nothing holds it up. I even went, I even went on and said, oh, if the WBC doesn't want to sanction a fight, they don't have to. Let these guys do their thing. Everybody knows who's going to be the best. The winner of this fight is declared the best. We don't need all four titles involved. I know these guys want it for their legacy, but if the WBC continues to not sanction an undisputed fight with two Russian fighters, then that's just on them. All right. The next fight down, I would have to put Jamal Charlo and Caleb Plant for obvious reasons. I know Jamal just came back and fought Benavidez, and I know Benavidez moved up to fight him. I know Benavidez is not like a real true 160, and he moved up over 160. I think they fought some kind of catchweight or something like that. But at least the fact of I'm happy at the fact that Jamal at least was in the ring. I know he's been inactive and stuff, but do I think he looked like he was in his prime? No. But he still looked pretty good. I do give him credit for getting in there and still performing well against a decent fighter. So I want to see him fight Caleb Plant, obviously, because of the slap. He got to run that. There's been so many fights with Charlo that I wanted to see over the years, especially with Danny Jacobs. But if we could get the Plant fight right now, I think the Plant fight would do its numbers simply because of the drama behind it. and the talk that they will have leading up to the fight. And it's just a pretty good fight, you know. And I hope it's at 168. I mean, Charlo, he's still holding on to a title at 160. I don't think there's anything left for him at 160, and I think draining himself to make 160 at this point would just make it worse, you know. So fight plant, and hopefully we get it this year. Maybe if not the very next fight, but at some point this year we should get that fight. All right, makes sense for both, and it's a winnable fight for both. You know, Plant would probably be a slight favorite because Jamal has been, you know, inactive and everything, but Jamal's still good to me, so it would be a good fight. All right, again, this next fight is a reason why I picked this fight, and again, I started this by saying that this is a same division type of fight. All right, so even though, and I'm speaking on Terrence Crawford. I forgot like my favorite fighter's name. Terrence Crawford. I know he has many options. Most of us don't want to see the rematch with Spence. I know I don't. But he has a lot of options at 154. You know, I mean, he's called out Canelo. There's other fights. But I want to see this fight. And it's against Jaron Boots Ennis. I want to see this fight. I want to see it. If Crawford does stay at 147. Because we still don't know if the rematch with Spence is going to be at 154. Is it going to be at 147? So wherever whatever the rematch is, if Crawford stays at 147, if he stays there, if he decides like I'm not gonna make the move to 154, and since he's currently at 147, this is the guy I want to see him fight at 147. You know, there's still other good fights. You know, obviously you got Keith Thurman. You know, you got. I mean, it's not much there. You know, I did want to see Virgil Ortiz a little bit at one point, but, you know, Ortiz is going to be fighting at 154 this weekend. So if we're talking about 147, if it's not Keith Thurman, it should be Jaron Boots Ennis. You know, I know Ennis don't have a name like that. I know he doesn't have a lot of experience as far as fighting elite fighters, but it's still an intriguing fight. They're both switchers. Ennis is a phenomenal athlete. And he's powerful, he's bigger, and I think he brings more dangers to the fight to me than Errol Spence did. That's just my personal opinion. I know I did a lot of film, a lot of content on Errol and Bud, and I'm part of people on here that hyped it up. But when it came down to making my pick, I always stood on my pick, and I thought my pick from jump was Bud to knock him out. I think with Jaron Ennis, I would probably lead towards Crawford, but I think it would be a little harder to call, being that I haven't seen Ennis fight at this level, so I don't know what he can really do. But I know on a level of opposition he's been facing, he looks phenomenal. Okay, I think he does have flaws, and I think there's certain things about him that, yeah, I can see most people say, oh, Bud's going to knock him out. He's not going to get credit for knocking him out. All right, yeah, I understand that, but to me, it's a good matchup, you know, and it's a fight that I personally want to see. All right. The next match is, also another one of my like favorites on this list, and it's Devin Haney against Teofimo Lopez. I mean, this is a fight that I wanted to see at 135 when they were just contenders, you know, before they picked up titles. I remember Devin Haney going to his fights and going to Ryan Garcia's fights and calling them out, and you know they're roughly around the same age, and they're both got phenomenal resumes. You know, even Tio with his loss, I mean he's got phenomenal wins. Both of them do, you know, and these guys are fighting at 140 at this point, and they're both champions. So I want to see this fight. I know that Ryan is in the mix, and I know like Ryan might be Devin Haney's next opponent and stuff, but you know, I know people are still talking about Tank Davis, but this is a good fight. This is Teofimo Lopez is a guy that I wanted to see Ryan fight, that I wanted to see Tank fight, that I wanted to see Devin fight, and this is a great fight. You know, I really, really want to see this fight, and it really could happen. It should happen. Tio is pretty much, you know, I mean, the fight can happen. Devin Haney's a free agent. He could go where he pleases. make the fight happen, and even if we can't get it popping here, let's get it on in Saudi Arabia. I'm sure that's a fight that they wouldn't have any problems with hosting. All right, moving along, Tank and Shakur, 135. I just talked about 140. Well, let's talk about 135 because these guys are currently there and they're both champions. I believe Tank just got elevated as a WBA champ from regular to super. And then you got Shakur, who also holds a title, I believe the WBO. So let's get it on. I know Tank at the end of the day, he's the big star, and I know Shakur is coming off his worst performance. But it doesn't take anything away. It doesn't change my mind about this fight. This is a fight that I want to see. Being that Devin is not there and Teal's not there and Ryan, Tank already had his way with him. Let's have the fight. There shouldn't be no rehydration clauses. There's no catch weights. You're both champions. You're both still in your prime. What are we waiting for? Let's stop doing the Twitter talk. Let's stop the social media bullshit. Like, I'm waiting for Tank to fight someone that I think is a real threat to him. And I'm waiting for the same thing for Shakur. I'm the same way with both. And Shakur is younger in his career, so he's on the way up. Tank is there, but I'm still waiting for Tank to give me that fight that with someone that's a threat to him. I already know how good he is. I love Tank, but give me that fight that I think like we're on line going back and forth about who's gonna really win. I need that from Tank. So I'm waiting for that, and I hope it happens, and I hope someone pays up because I know Tank is gonna really want to get paid to take that kind of fight. So hopefully at some point the money will be worth it for him to get in the ring with Shakur Stevenson. All right. Lee Wood, Joe Cordina is on his list. Lee Wood, I kind of wanted him to unify at 126, but being that he's not, and he's officially gone up to 130. I kind of want to see this fight. I think this is a good fight. And I like Joe Cordina. I like Lee Wood. Lee Wood has given me a great year. I mean, he gave me a fun ass year. Losing to Lara the first fight, beating Lara, dropping him, and beating him in the second fight, and then winning on to stop Josh Warrington, a fight that he was probably losing on the first half of the fight. So Lee Wood is a fun fighter. Joe Cordina is a fun fighter. It's just a good matchup. I want to see the fight, and I can't wait to see it. All right. This kind of breaks my rule a little bit, but I had to bring this up, and this is Bam Rodriguez against Nakatani. I know Nakatani is going to be moving up to 115. I think these guys will meet, but the only reason why I brought this up is because Bam already has fought at 115. So I know he's still at 112 campaigning, and he might stay there for a little bit. At least that's what his coach wants him to do. But being that Bam already fought at the weight and won a title up there, he can go back up as he pleases. I don't think this fight is going to happen in 2024. I actually think that Nakatani is going to go after the last generation guys if he could. But I think at some point, if not in 2024, these guys will meet at some point. And I can't wait. I want to see it now. But if we see it a few years down the line, I'm cool with that too. But this is on my list because this is a fight that I just want to see. I mean, they're both undefeated. They're both super explosive. Nakatani had one of the best knockouts of the year. And then Bam had one of the better performances of the year, period. Even last year as well. So, Bam, Nakatani, let's get it in 2024. The next one, I would have to go with Ashaki Foster against Emmanuel Navarrete. I know Navarrete might be moving up to 135. I know that was part of Top Rank's plan to put him in there with Shakur eventually. But right now, he just came off a crazy ass fight against Robson Conceição. All right, these guys went life or death with each other, and I think a lot of people, Nakatani is like I'm sorry, not Nakatani. Navarrete is like when he has a good performance, like he did against Oscar Valdez. People are saying like, who can stop this guy? And then when he had a so-so performance, it's like he looks beatable. This guy, everybody will beat him. It's on a fight by fight basis with him, you know. But Foster, again, he had a one of the best performances, one of the best fights of the year. I think top 2 or 3 best fights of all of boxing, just to me, and probably definitely the best round of the year in round 11 against Rocky. So I would say Foster Navarrete unification match at 130. Let's get it. I mean, they're both top ranked. Foster just left Matchroom to go to top rank. So I mean, the fight can happen. You know, what's stopping the fight from happening? You know, so we'll see. A heavyweight fight that I've been wanting to see. You know, this was a fight that I thought Jared Anderson should avoid at one point, but now I think that since he's been calling him out, and he just recently, not too long ago, he beat a former heavyweight champion in Charles Martin. I think he's ready for the top fighters, you know, and whether it's Daniel Dubois or whether it's Frank Sanchez, this is a fight that I want to see. This is a fight that when I was watching Jared Anderson, you know, like maybe 2, 3 years ago, I was saying like I want to see him fight Daniel Dubois. You know, I don't know if Daniel Triple D had lost. I'm sorry, I'm saying all of this, but this is like a 3-way fight thing. Jared Anderson with Sanchez, Frank Sanchez, or Daniel Dubois. I want to see Jared Anderson fight one of those two. Either one. But I'm going in circles here because at one point I thought it would be too soon to fight Frank Sanchez. But Jared Anderson has been calling him out. He's saying he's want that fight. You know, and Sanchez just had a big knockout against Junior Fall recently on the Big Saudi card. So I'm ready to see that fight. I'm ready to see Frank Sanchez step up. But I'm also ready to see Frank Sanchez fight Triple D. You know, and I know Triple D is looking for a bigger fight. Obviously, he want Anthony Joshua. You know, coming off that performance against Gerald Miller, he has become a boxing. I think he gained a lot of fans overnight. There's a lot of people that didn't really believe in him until he won that fight, because so many people hated Gerald Miller and wanted him to lose. So Triple D, his stock has risen again. And I think it's even higher than it's ever been, even after the 2 losses. And I think now is a time for him to probably get a bigger fight. But before that, me personally, I would love to see Jared Anderson either fight Frank Sanchez or Triple D. I would probably want the Triple D fight a little bit more, simply because I think that would be just a war. You know what I mean? Frank Sanchez, even though as a pro doesn't have many phenomenal wins, but I feel like he's like older than those two, and I kind of just want to see the 2 young dogs fight each other. But either fight is great with me. Like, I'm good with either one. All right. I want to see the next fight here is Ramirez against Rafael Espinoza too. I mean, that was one of the best fights of the years. Right there was Ashaki Foster and Rocky Hernandez. That's right there with those two. And I want to see a rematch because it was just so much confusion going on. Like, it's like Espinoza, never seen the guy fight before. He comes in, he's like 6'2", fighting at 126. He's coming in. He's boxing so well. It doesn't look like Ramirez have anything for him. And then out of nowhere, he gets clipped with a big shot, goes down. Took him rounds to recover. Ramirez comes back, rallies, and then Ramirez gets dropped and almost stopped in the final round. I need to see that fight again. You know, I mean, obviously there's other fights to be made. Luis Alberto Lopez is one of them. But yo, please give me this rematch. We need to run this fight back because it was such a good fight. It's not like Ramirez got dominated. He got his shots off too. So running back, I want to see a rematch ASAP, like immediate rematch. It's rare when I say I want to see an immediate rematch, but I want to see immediate. I have a few more that I'm gonna bring up too. I want to see an immediate rematch. Like that fight was good. It was a great fight, and I want to see it again. Let's go into the next fight, and it's a couple of fights with Katie Taylor. All right. There's two, just like I did with Jerry Anderson. There's two fights that I want to see, and Chantel Kramer and Dree. I want to see the third now because the second fight was way better. It was more action packed. Katie did more than what I expected her to do at her age. I didn't think, you know, I knew she can box better, but I didn't think she could do it with such ease. Like she made it, and it's not like Cameron didn't show up. It's just to beat a woman that was outworking you the way that she was, and outboxing her again, and just make her pay for all her mistakes. It was just a good performance, and being that Chantel won the first fight, I just want to see a third fight. Let's get a trilogy going. I mean, Chantel gave her the opportunity to run it back, and I mean, I'm sure it was part of the contract, but let's get a third one. Let's get a third one. The second one was a good fight. I thought the first one was cool. It was a cool fight. Katie lost the first one, but I thought, as far as the action was cool. But the second fight was a really good fight, So, and then the other one with Katie, is Amanda Serrano too. I want to see the rematch. I wanted to see the rematch after the first fight. I know Serrano didn't take the rematch, but I think there's still time to make that fight. I think there's still time. So, that's the other fight I want to see involved with Katie Taylor. Either one is cool, but I guess Cameron get that third fight out of the way and maybe, end it off. I don't think Katie really needs to box much longer. She's a two-division undisputed champion now. So I don't think there's much left for her to do. I think the best way to go out at this point, win or lose, fight Cameron in a trilogy fight, and then fight Serrano in a rematch, and then exit the game. Just that's it. You can leave with that. All right. The next one on the list is a little controversial because there's definitely more meaningful fights there. But I would just still say Anthony Joshua against Deontay Wilder. It definitely lost a lot of stock. And even with me, I don't care for the fight as much because if Joshua is to take Zhang or is he take Hrgovic or whatever, or even if you were to fight Triple D or in Francis Ngannou, I wouldn't be mad at any of those fights. But I want to see the fight just to close that story. I know a lot of people don't care for it now because Wilder just looked terrible against Joseph Parker. Probably one of the worst performances out of anybody the whole year. And I know myself, as much as I like Wilder, I think some of his followers were just overrating him a little too much. He was fun. He was explosive. He gave us some crazy knockouts over the years. He gave us a lot of fun. But it became something else. People made it about something else. And it just became nasty. It became nasty, especially on social media. So I still want to see the fight because it's still a good fight to me. I still want to see who wins between the both of them. I know if Joshua is to win. I know Joshua has a lot more to lose in a fight now because Wilder, his stock has dropped dramatically. I mean, losing a Fury, he lost a Fury, and that was over. I know it was a glove gates, it was whole stuff with his coach and all this stuff, but Wilder came back. He was on this card. There was a buildup of them finally fighting each other, and then Wilder dropped the ball by losing to Joseph Parker. So now, there are still narratives being pushed with that, but it's very few people left pushing those. Like, I feel like when it comes to Wilder's side, it's very few people that are pushing these narratives about, Joshua ducking him. And apparently the fight was signed. apparently they were going to fight as long as they won their 2 fights. So now that Wilder lost, some people just don't care. But some people still want to see it. I want to see it because I just want to know who would actually win if they fought each other. And I don't want to go by the triangle theory. I mean, I know AJ beat Parker in the past. But sometimes I think it's all about the styles, and I think Parker came in perfect that night. And Wilder came in trying to do a style that he seemed like he was trying something out. And what worked with Hernandez, who he had years of experience with sparring with, didn't work out for Joseph Parker, And listen, you lose, you lose. He looked bad losing. And I understand if Joshua doesn't care for the fight anymore, but I want to see it. I still want to see it. And if it doesn't happen, then whatever. But I personally still want to see it because I think that someone's going to get knocked out. Right now, I'm leaning with Deontay Wilder getting knocked out, but I still want to see it. But I don't think Joshua's a duck for not fighting him at this point. At this point, if Joshua had lost to Otto Wallin, which a lot of people thought he was, he would have never heard the end of it. If Anthony Joshua lost to Otto Wallin, Wilder fans would have went crazy. You know what I mean? And the fight wouldn't have happened anyway. Wilder wouldn't have fought Joshua if Wilder won his fight and Joshua lost. It wouldn't have worked out that way. So I get it, but me as a fan, I want to still see it. I want to still see it. A lot of fights, especially in the heavyweight division over the years, happen way too late. Tyson, Holyfield, Tyson, Lennox Lewis. We never got Bo. This fight said we just never got with Lennox Lewis and all these heavyweights from that time when I was a kid growing up watching boxing. But this is one of the fights where even though I think it's a little too late, I still want to see it. Still want to see it. This fight is for the 2 young guys, Keyshawn Davis and Andy Cruz. A lot of history with their amateur background. And, Andy Cruz beat him like 4 or 5 times in amateurs. And being that Andy Cruz had, in my opinion, one of the best prospect. I don't even look at him as a prospect because he's a top tier Olympian. You know what I mean? But I still want to see it, because Keyshawn has been going on a tear, and he's actually got a good fight coming up against Jose Pedraza. I'm still yet to talk about that fight. I am going to talk a little bit more about that fight too. But I still like to see this fight. I want to see this fight, and it's a fight that can happen. I don't think it's going to happen now, but it's a fight that I want to see now. Because even though Andy Cruz picked up a lot of wins in the amateurs, pro fighting is different. And I want to see what that fight would look like soon, But this might be a build-up fight. Again, I don't know how long they're going to be able to avoid each other because they're both fighting in the same division right now. So I don't know how long they're going to be able to avoid each other and hold that off for both fighters. But I would love to see the fight. And, maybe, you never know. I'm not expecting it, but you never know. They might be on an undercard of a Saudi fight, and they might actually get paid a good amount of money early in their career to want to take the risk here and losing their first or losing their I'm sorry. So anyway, I want to see the fight. And the last but not least, this is the last fight on my list with the welterweights. I want to see Keith Thurman against Stanionis. This is a fight that first of all, I mean, it's just sad because these guys are going like 2 years with inactivity. Being PBC fighters, just not getting on a card. Stanionis was supposed to fight Virgil Ortiz. That fight was canceled like twice. And then Keith Thurman just never got the opportunity to fight again. So, since his win. So, again, I just want to see the fight, man. I want to see Keith Thurman in the ring before he gets too old. And I want to see Stanionis not waste his prime years. So I want to see the fight. All right. All right. So that's my list, man. Again, Happy New Year. I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.